Title: Whispers from the Foggy Graveyard. I'll never forget the night I stumbled upon the Foggy Graveyard. It was a chilling October evening, the moon hidden behind thick clouds that seemed to have swallowed the stars. As I walked down the desolate, winding road that led to the outskirts of town, a sense of unease settled deep in my chest. I had always been fascinated by the paranormal and had heard stories about this place, the Foggy Graveyard, a locale shrouded in dark legends. Rumors whispered of spectral apparitions, ominous figures lurking among the tombstones, and a pervasive fog that never seemed to lift. With my curiosity piqued, I decided to explore the graveyard myself, armed with only a flashlight and a heavy coat to shield me from the biting cold. The fog, true to its reputation, seemed to envelop the cemetery in a spectral embrace. Each step I took was accompanied by a hollow crunch of leaves and the eerie creak of ancient trees. The gravestones, cracked and weather-worn, stood like forgotten sentinels in the night. My flashlight beam revealed inscriptions and dates, a testament to the souls that had been laid to rest here. As I meandered through the maze of headstones, my breath visible in the frigid air, I could almost hear the whispers of those long gone. "Who's there?" I whispered into the silence, my voice trembling. Perhaps it was just my imagination, or maybe it was the wind playing tricks on my ears, but I swore I could hear faint, mournful voices rising from the ground. A shiver ran down my spine, and I quickened my pace. It was then that I noticed an unusual gravestone, distinct from the rest. It was taller, darker, and adorned with a wrought iron gate that guarded what lay within. The plaque read, "Here lies Samuel Blackwood, 1847 to 1889. Curiosity got the better of me, and I couldn't resist investigating further. I carefully pushed open the gate and stepped inside. The area was shrouded in an even denser fog, making it difficult to see beyond a few feet. I played my flashlight over the tombstone and gasped. The dates on the marker were disturbingly close to the present year. As I stood there, bewildered, a voice echoed from the fog, chilling me to the core. Samuel Blackwood." My heart pounded, and I strained my eyes to find the source of the voice. It seemed to come from all around me, as though the very air itself was speaking. The ground beneath me seemed to shift, and I stumbled backward, my flashlight slipping from my grasp. "Who's there?" I stammered. The fog swirled and formed a shape, a human silhouette that seemed to emerge from the mist. It slowly took on the form of a man, and when the fog cleared, there stood Samuel Blackwood, as real as any living person. He was dressed in tattered clothing, his skin pale and his eyes hollow. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I am Samuel Blackwood," he replied, his voice a haunting whisper. "I've been waiting for you." I backed away, my heart racing. This was impossible. Samuel Blackwood had been dead for over a century. My mind raced with fear and disbelief as I tried to make sense of the surreal encounter. "What do you want from me?" Samuel Blackwood extended a bony, outstretched hand, and I could see through it, as though he were made of mist. "I need your help," he said. "There's a curse upon this graveyard, a curse that binds me to this place. You are the one who can help me break it." I hesitated, torn between my fear and curiosity. The legend of the Foggy Graveyard had always fascinated me, but facing a spectral apparition was an entirely different matter. "What curse are you talking about?" "The curse of eternal solitude," Samuel replied, his voice filled with anguish. "I am trapped here, unable to rest in peace. I need someone to help me complete my unfinished business, to free my soul from this torment." I considered his plea, torn between disbelief and a strange sense of sympathy. But how could I help a restless spirit from the other side? What do I need to do? Samuel's form wavered, and for a moment, he seemed to flicker like a fading candle. I need you to find a locket, a silver locket that was stolen from my grave shortly after my death. It holds the key to my release. I nodded, albeit hesitantly. Where do I find this locket? It was taken by my brother, Tobias Blackwood, Samuel said. He was jealous of my wealth and wanted the locket for himself. He buried it with his own grave, in the nearby Blackwood family cemetery. You must find it, return it to me, and set my soul free. The Blackwood family cemetery was known to be an even more foreboding place than the Foggy Graveyard. Legends spoke of malevolent spirits guarding the family's tomb, and of a terrible curse that befell anyone who dared disturb the resting place of the Blackwoods. Yet, compelled by both fear and a strange determination, I agreed to take on the task. I left Samuel's grave, my flashlight recovered from the ground, and retraced my steps through the foggy cemetery. The night was eerily quiet, the whispers of the dead echoing in my ears as I made my way to the Blackwood family cemetery, which was a short distance away. The Blackwood cemetery was even more sinister than I had imagined. The air was heavy with an oppressive silence, and the tombstones stood like menacing sentinels, etched with grotesque, weather-worn statues. As I approached the Blackwood family crypt, I felt a wave of dread wash over me. I cautiously opened the wrought iron gate that led to Tobias Blackwood's resting place. The ground here felt colder, and the fog clung to the tombstones with an unnatural thickness. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest, but the memory of Samuel's plea pushed me forward. With my flashlight beam sweeping over the graves, I began to search for Tobias Blackwood's tomb. After what felt like hours, I finally found a name that matched. The tombstone was larger and more ornate than the others, adorned with intricate carvings of twisted vines and weeping angels. I began to dig, my hands shaking, as I unearthed the locket. It was an exquisite piece of jewelry, a silver locket that gleamed in the pale light. I knew I had to return it to Samuel, but the silence of the cemetery was suddenly shattered by an eerie, otherworldly wail that echoed through the night. I turned, my heart pounding, and saw the figures of shadowy apparitions rising from the graves. The restless spirits of the Blackwood family had been awakened, and they swarmed around me, their faces twisted in anguish, their hands reaching out for the locket. Panic consumed me as I clutched the locket tightly, my flashlight trembling in my hand. The spirits moaned and shrieked, their forms shifting and merging in the dense fog. I had to escape, but the way back to Samuel's grave seemed impossibly distant. I ran through the maze of tombstones, my heart racing, the unearthly cries of the spirits following me. The fog grew thicker, obscuring my vision, and I stumbled over uneven ground. Just as I thought I might be lost forever in the spectral labyrinth, I saw the familiar wrought iron gate of Samuel's grave. With every ounce of strength I had left, I reached Samuel's grave, slammed the gate shut, and placed the locket on his tombstone. The spirits of the Blackwood family shrieked and raged on the other side of the gate, their ghostly hands unable to pass through the barrier. Samuel's form solidified once more, and he reached out to touch the locket, his hand passing through it as though he were made of mist. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. The locket began to glow with an otherworldly light, and the fog that had hung over the graveyard for centuries began to lift. The spectral apparitions of the Blackwood family slowly faded away, their wails growing fainter and fainter until they were gone. With a final, ghostly smile, Samuel Blackwood's form dissolved into the mist, and he was gone. The fog that had clung to the graveyard for so long dissipated, and the night was silent once more. I stood there for a long time, catching my breath, still in disbelief about what had transpired. The curse of the Foggy Graveyard had been broken, and the spirits of the Blackwood family were at peace. I picked up the now dim locket, a memento of my otherworldly encounter, and left the cemetery. As I walked back down the winding road that led to town, the moon emerged from behind the clouds, casting a pale, ethereal light over the landscape. I couldn't help but look back at the now clear Foggy Graveyard, where the gravestones glistened like pearls in the moonlight. The whispers of the dead were gone, replaced by an eerie but tranquil silence. The legends of the Foggy Graveyard were true, and I had been a part of its haunting history. Though the terror of that night would stay with me forever, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of closure and wonder at the mysteries of the afterlife. And so, as I left that eerie place behind, I knew that the Foggy Graveyard held secrets and legends that would continue to capture the imagination of those who dared to seek its chilling mysteries.